family of Chulu Vega and this terrible, terrible tragedy that should have never happened. As we stand before the police department today, I am honored to be joined by the NAACP and its state president, Scott X. Exdale. Also, my partner, Attorney Scott Carruthers, is present with us today, and also Corey Betts, this young man here who is a youth community program specialist who was working in a program with Chulu to get career development. He was learning a trade to try to better his life. And so many people have spoken out about Chulu and how he was trying to improve his life. But the people who knew him best, his family, that's the reason we're here today. That's the reason we're fighting for justice. We have present here his father, Mr. Jose Vega. We also have his sister and brother, Cassandra Vega, and his brother, Anthony Vega. And also we have his girlfriend who was actually in the vehicle with him, Miss Stephanie Santiago. And so we come here this morning to remember this tragic event and to put it in proper context, Attorney Jefferson, with all these hashtags that have developed across America of the unnecessary, unjustifiable, excessive force by police officers brutalizing people of color. There's no reason, when you look at the history of this police officer, that he should have been on the streets. It was foreseeable that this tragedy or one like it would occur. And you don't have to take our word for it. This tragedy is documented on video. The failures to follow proper police procedure is evident. There's ocular proof. You don't have to believe the emotions of Anthony or Jose, his family. You just look at the video. Attorney Jefferson and I and Attorney Carruthers, we've talked with the district attorney and the investigators to say what we see on that video that is just shocking to us when you think about the fact that this allegedly was for a traffic violation. A traffic violation. I know President Scott Exdale and the NAACP believes there's a larger pattern and practice of racial profiling in this city. And it is that profiling that led for Chulu Vega initially being detained. Now, at 18 years old, we don't often make the best decisions.
Correct.
But we expect the trained professionals to make proper decisions to avoid unnecessarily and unjustifiably killing our children. You see, Chulu had a future ahead of him. And that future was taken away from him by this police officer who, I understand, Attorney Jefferson, his former supervisors, based on news reports, say that he was a ticking time bomb. That if he did not improve his work performance, that he was going to either hurt himself or he was going to hurt someone else.
And unfortunately,
it was Anthony's little brother. And so you have this ticking time bomb that they put on patrol here in this city. And it begs the question, did they even look at his personnel file from his previous employee? And if so, then why would you hire this officer to put on the streets? You know, we applaud the district attorney for releasing the video. and letting everybody see what really happened with their own eyes, because that's very important. Transparency is the most important thing to our communities who have great distrust with law enforcement, because over and over again we see our loved ones being harmed and killed in just unbelievable ways, but yet they all say there was no policies violated, there was no procedures violated, and they just try to sweep it under the rug. Well, we refuse to let them just sweep this under the rug. And so the release of the video was very important. That was the first step. But I'm sure President XL will concur with me that it is about transparency, but then we have to have accountability before we can get to trust. And really, this calls into question the issues that President XL will speak to you at the end of the press conference after the family addresses you about the issues that they have had with what they believe to be racial profiling in this city. But make no mistake about it, we are here demanding justice for Chulu Vega, and we're going to not only say it today, but we're going to continue to say it until we get justice.
Correct.
And we believe with this video, not only are they going to be saying it in the state of Connecticut, but they're going to be saying it all across America.
Yes, sir.
They're
Yes.
going to be saying it in Ferguson, Missouri, as they remember Mike Brown.
Yes.
They're going to be saying it in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as they remember Terrence Crutcher.
Yes.
They're going to be saying it in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as they remember Philando Castile. They're going to be saying it in Houston, Texas, as they remember Sandra Bland. They're going to be saying it in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as they remember Alton Sterling. They're going to be saying it in New York, as they remember Eric Gardner. And they're going to be saying it in Sanford, Florida, as they remember Trayvon Martin. And tragically and unfortunately,
They're going to remember.
now Connecticut has its own hashtag that America is going to be talking about.
Justice for Chulo.
Justice for Chulu Vega.
Yes, sir.
At this time, you're going to hear from attorney Mike Jefferson, and then you will hear from the family, President Scott Eckstall, and then we will try to take some of your questions.
Just want to give you a sense, thank you, Attorney Crump. I just want to give you a sense of the conversations that we've had with the state's attorney, Gail Hardy. As Attorney Crump has mentioned, we are pleased with the transparency that has been exhibited thus far by her office. We recognize that these investigations take some time. Hopefully, this one doesn't take that much time. It shouldn't, given the video.
Amen.
And what we
Amen.
saw on that video. But we will be patient, and we will trust Ms. Hardy to do the right thing. I know Ms. Hardy. I've known her for quite some time. I have confidence in her judgment, and I think at the end of the day, she will, in fact, do the right thing. One of the things that we're looking into is why the stop was made in the first place. We don't know why that stop was made, and we do believe, as Attorney Crump alluded to, that this could be a case of racial profiling, and we're going to wait for that investigation to conclude to determine just that. But we don't know why Chulo was pulled over. We have no idea. We have not heard the dispatch tapes. We have not seen any other video from the beginning, prior to the video, or the stop that we witnessed on the video. We have not seen the dash cam of the initial officer prior to stopping Chulo. So those are the things that we're waiting to see regarding this investigation. We're going to turn this.
Sandra, let's have, right now we're going to put the family before you, but remember, they are grieving survivors of this tragedy, and so they're not like Attorney Jefferson and I, who are used to speaking to the public and the media, so try to bear with them, and if Mr. Jose Vega is so inclined, he will also say a word for you. But I do agree with Attorney Jefferson, who is a great lawyer based here in Connecticut, that this investigation shouldn't take long.
Shouldn't.
We have a video. We have a video. Don't have to investigate that long when you have that evidence. We know in our community it certainly doesn't take long for them to bring charges and hold people accountable. So with that, we're going to have Anthony and Cassandra and Stephanie also try to address you as best they can, but Anthony is going to take the lead, and then Mr. Jose, if you feel inclined, and if not, we understand that too, sir. Mr. Anthony Vega.
Well, first of all, we just want to thank you for being here with us. Thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. We just basically looking for justice for Chulo.
Justice for Chulo.
What me and my family want to know is why this police officer with the background that supposedly came out. But if this tragedy would have never happened, would have came out? We got to keep that in mind.
Yes.
Okay. But back to the subject. What I'm just want to know, why was he still in the police force? Even if he got transferred from Manchester to Weatherfield, why? Like, they knew what was going on. All this needs to stop. Not in Connecticut, just as a worldwide. We need to stop. Like, we need to stop, you know? And I just want to say that myself, it's just, I can't even speak. And I won't even speak after we get the justice that I know we're going to get. Because, like the lawyer said, the video show everything. So, with that being said, man, I just want justice for Chulo, and I know we're going to get it.
Justice.
Justicia para Chulo. I'm not going to repeat all that.
Your name, sir?
Anthony Colon. You want to speak? Speak.
They don't. You want to say something? You can speak in Spanish.
He can speak in Spanish.
You can step forward and stuff. He's going to speak in Spanish.
Solo lo que pido es justicia para mi hijo. Tengo mucho dolor y va a ser difícil reponerme de esto. Y gracias por el apoyo, por el cariño que le tenían a mi hijo. Gracias a cada una de estas personas que lo querían inmensamente.
Por la persona que él era.
Por la persona que él era
Y sigue siendo.
y sigue siendo.
Justicia para Chulo.
Y justicia para Chulo.
Yes.
Gracias.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ozone. Obviously, this is very difficult. His little sister won't be addressing you. It's too emotional for her. We'll allow the family to try to gather themselves as we call President Scott X-Style to address you, the state president of the NAACP. The motion of losing his youngest son is overbearing for Mr. Jose. State President of the NAACP, President Scott X. Down.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. For those who do not know me, my name is Scott X. Esdale. I'm the state president of the Connecticut NAACP. I'm also the national chairman of the NAACP for Criminal Justice Reform. And when I had the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with the family, they were really grieving and they were really in deep sorrow. And they asked me who did I think would be the best attorney for this particular situation. And I told them that I had a dear friend who was a very, very strong freedom fighter and an outstanding civil rights attorney. And I thought that he would be the perfect person to come to Connecticut along with his team to fight for justice in this particular situation. The NAACP, along with the Hartford NAACP, and we have our newly elected president, Ms. Maxine Robinson Lewin, she's here also. What we wanted to make clear is that we've been striving to deal with the Wethersfield Police Department for a long time. They've been having concerns around racial profiling for a long time, and it's been escalating. It's been escalating for a long time. And they have created a climate for an incident like this to occur. And this chief has to be dealt with. This police force has to be dealt with.
He got to go.
And the leadership of this particular town has to be dealt with because they knew that this was going on and they didn't deal with it.
Correct.
So we're asking all people of good faith, and we're asking the media to dig deep on this particular department and their actions around racial profiling. And let's expose it.
Yeah.
Because this has to stop. And once again, this could be an example of how we deal with racial profiling in unacceptable murders that police officers are carrying out on young people throughout this nation. So the NAACP backs these attorneys 1,000%. We will continue to work diligently to support this particular family. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Corey Betts, who's been working with the family. He's our criminal justice chair for the Hartford NAACP. He's newly appointed by our new president. He's been doing a wonderful job in reference to working with the lawyers and working with the family. And he's been working day to day on this particular issue. But I'm just letting you know that the NAACP will support all the way to the conclusion to make sure that this family is made whole. Now, we know we can't make them totally whole, but we want to make sure that we can heal the wounds as best possible. So thank you for letting me share a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, Attorney Jefferson and I will try to address your questions as best we can. If the family can answer questions, they will, and if not, you all have to respect their grieving.
Mr. Crump, if I could just start by asking, initially there were reports that the vehicle might have been stolen, and that might have led up to this. Can you clarify that?
Sir,
and then I have a second question for you.
Attorney Jefferson,
Yeah,
would like to speak to that.
That's totally untrue. That's totally untrue.
Untrue. What was the question?
Anthony also, we vetted this issue. Go ahead.
Back to your answer,
Why don't you stand
we do have the title for the car, correct?
The title was presented to the state's attorney. The vehicle was not stolen. That's
Thank
just
you.
untrue.
Thank you.
We've seen the time.
Thank you.
Second question, I just want to walk through this video because we see the officer appearing to run behind the vehicle, run toward the car. I'm just trying to, can you help as an attorney explain where the threat might have been in this video?
Right. I'm going to allow Attorney Jefferson to get into the details and the nuances of the video. All I will say is this. There seems to be some pattern when it comes to policing minorities in America where police put themselves in alleged life or death situations and then shoot and kill unarmed people of color and then say, well, we felt in fear. We felt threatened, which is the magic words to say, well, just get over it to the Vega family. to the Alton Sterling family, to the Philando Castile family. You know, it just keeps happening over and over again. But when you look at this video, it boggles the mind as to why he would put himself in that position to claim that he had to make a life or death momentary judgment. With training, you would never have to do that. But I guess when we look at the training records of this particular officer, then we have to question, was he trainable? And did the city police department hire him, even listen to the Mansfield Police Department about their beliefs on whether he could ever be trained? This also happened in Tamir Rice's case in Cleveland, Ohio, who the Independence Police Department had fired him about 10 weeks or 12 weeks before, and then the Cleveland Police Department failed to look at their records where they had concluded that he was untrainable. All people should not be police officers.
Yes.
Attorney Jefferson.
Yeah, that was. Let's keep in mind this was a traffic stop. This young man should not be dead over a traffic stop.
Correct.
Let's just be clear about that. And again, we have not even seen or heard the dispatch tapes as to why he was even stopped.
Right. Yeah.
Then he drove down this highway here, this road, and was intercepted by this police officer who rammed his vehicle.
Yes.
Rammed his vehicle,
Yeah.
jumped out with his gun, and ran in front of the vehicle and shot this man. This was a total violation of police policy. I've spoken to several police experts that said no training allows that to happen. This was a total violation of police practice.
Not only did he ran in front of the car and put his life in danger, before he did that, he went to my little brother's side window. If you see the video, he went to the side window first. So he knew what he was doing before he did what he did. Think about it. Before we do something, we think about it, and then we do it, correct? I mean, we all human, so that's the reaction, you know? So why would he go to my little brother's window, and then you run in front of you ran from the side of the car to in front of the car, so you put yourself in danger. For what? For what? To hurt my family?
Traffic
The
violation.
officer said that he couldn't see through the window because of the tinting.
But it doesn't matter. Okay.
Listen, first of all, the car window, the windshield, the front windshield is not tinted. It's not tinted. Look at the video again. It's not tinted.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Whether he could see in the vehicle or not, why would you shoot first and ask questions later? And that seems to be the pattern when it comes to people of color. And you ask the question, why was he stopped in the first place? Right. That is going to be a very important question to answer, especially in light of what President Scott Exel said has been an issue of people of color believing that they were unjustifiably and inexplicably pulled over by these police when they come through Wethersfield, Connecticut.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you speak on, in other similar cases where racial profiling was an issue and the officer involved is an officer of color, can you explain how this can apply potentially no matter the race of the officer?
Oh, absolutely. What we find, whether the officer is black, Hispanic, or white, they are much quicker to pull the trigger when it's a person of color versus whether it's a white person. You know, we see evidence of this everywhere. In Stephon Clark case in Sacramento, California, I literally just came from Sacramento meeting with his family, and in that case, one of the officers was an African-American officer, but yet you see again an unarmed black man, an unarmed Hispanic man. They shoot first and they ask questions later. And they had seen no evidence of a weapon or anything, but in their mind, whatever based on their training, they see color and they have, I guess, a heightened sense of danger and they shoot. We see with young white men who are confirmed mass murderers.
Yes, sir. Come on and tell us.
Whether it's in Parkland, Florida, my home state, where a young man went into a school and shot 34 people, killing 17 of them. They followed him for hours, and they took him alive. In Tennessee, at the Waffle House shooting, you know, a young white man went and shot multiple people, killing 4 of them. They followed him into the woods. They followed him in the woods, Mike, and then everybody came out alive.
Everyone.
In our community, that's not the reality that we have. And then, as Mr. President was saying, in South Carolina, the young white supremacist Dylan Roof went into the church and killed 9 of the most innocent people you could ever find. And in interviews afterwards, he said he felt so bad for killing them because they were so nice to him. They followed him across state lines, took him alive, and then they took him to Burger King to get a burger and fries on the way to jail.
Yes, sir.
That's not the reality of people of color when they have an encounter with law enforcement. If they move the wrong way, if they do anything, it's shoot first, ask questions later. And we are here because this officer, for whatever reason, decided to shoot first, not give the benefit of the doubt at all that this is a traffic violation. This person may just be afraid. Let's shoot first and ask questions later. And Attorney Jefferson and and Attorney Carruthers, we keep trying to understand with all this technology, if it's just a traffic violation, even if it's a stolen vehicle, even though we know that's not the case, but even if it was, what is the harm of getting the license plate, putting out an all points bulletin, and then letting us use our technology, our intellect, versus using violence to stop a person for, at worst, a property theft? Really?
To the family, has beyond the protest, has either the mayor or the police or anybody from the department had a private conversation with you all?
Not on my behalf.
Not at this time. Okay.
So
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Krupp?
Excellent question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 2 questions here. First, we're learning that the NAACP chapter of Hartford reached out to you to take on this case. Can you provide insight as to why you did? And the second question may be for Anthony. What does justice for Chulo look like?
Certainly, when President Exdal called me, the family was with him. Catherine, Chulu's older sister, and Anthony. And first, I just had them tell me about the situation. And the thing that troubled me a lot with this video, I had just had a matter in Florida with Latasha Walton, a young black woman, a mother who the police shot into her car 6 times, killing her over a routine traffic violation. So the thing that really heartened me to come to Connecticut was it shocked my conscience that they continue to kill us over what seems to be traffic violations or traffic suspicions. And the fact that you had this Hispanic family who were saying oftentimes nobody really talks about us getting justice when the police kill us. Oftentimes we've heard when African Americans have been killed, the community stands up in unison and say, we refuse to allow this to be swept under the rug. We want accountability. But here we had a Hispanic family saying, our brother lives matter too.
Yes. And not just his life. Everyone's life matter.
Yeah. and so in the question, I do think what I told Catherine and Anthony, you all deserve justice too.
That's right.
And you should have justice like any other American would expect justice. And so that's why I'm here in Connecticut.
Just one more question for Mr.
Nah,
Justice.
And Justice, as how it's looking for me, I just want him to be where he's supposed to be. Because a situation like that, if it would have been the other way around, I mean, you know, you wouldn't be speaking to me.
Nope.
So that's all I want. I want justice, and I want him, you know, to serve pay for what he did. That's all.
Equal justice, nothing more, nothing less.
That's it.
Equal justice.
Have you all asked, or do you plan to ask for an independent investigation by the city, because they have the power to do their own investigation and address another, maybe the misconduct or?
Right.
We're gonna rely on the DA's investigation. We trust Ms. Hardy. We believe she's gonna do the right thing. We honestly do. She has in fact reached out to the family. She has in fact met with the family. The family, along with myself, we saw the video prior to it being released to the public, to the press. So she's been compassionate, and she understands, and she recognizes, and we recognize that, you know, there's an investigation. So we're gonna let it take its course, and we expect.
We don't want to go on too long.
Right. We don't want to go on too long, and we don't feel it should go too long. Quite frankly,
It's not going to go too long.
Is there any sense that any evidence whatsoever might be suppressed? I asked that because the cell phone video from Sandra Bland's incident just came out, and so I'm wondering, do you all have any sense that might be the case
Well,
here?
we're working with the NAACP. We certainly plan on having a parallel investigation on behalf of the family. We're going to rely on the district attorney to do her job as she would do for any citizen here in Connecticut. But we understand that there's a history in America where times we've had our hearts broken when we've relied on the government to do proper and thorough investigation. So Attorney Jefferson and I will be working with the NAACP on behalf of the family to do a parallel investigation as we go forward and representing the family and any matter legally that can get them whole justice.
And please keep in mind that this, because it was a fatal shooting by a police officer, Wethersfield lies in the New Britain Judicial District. The Chief State's Attorney transferred this case outside of this district, and that's why State's Attorney Gail Hardy, who runs the Hartford Judicial District, has the case.
And that's important because you want to make sure there's no hint of impropriety.
Exactly.
And so we're thankful for that procedure being in place.
Can Stephanie talk about what happened in the car and why she was trying to drive away?
We won't get into that now.
Just one more question. First of all, I'm sorry for interrupting you a moment ago. I didn't realize you were answering. But Mr. Jefferson, you talked about you have confidence in Ms. Hardy doing the right thing. Can you describe, from your perspective, what is the right thing to do in this case for her?
Well, I think this police officer has to be held accountable. I did not see in that video an individual who was who has sworn to protect and serve the public. I saw a cowboy engaging in reckless behavior in terms of how he conducted that stop. And so, you know, I think, you know, it's there for everyone to see. I think he should face the full power of the law.
Yeah.
And he should be treated like anybody else would be treated if, in fact, they did the same thing.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm just curious, when we saw the shooting of Jason Negron, the question was not whether or not the use of force was justifiable, but if the officer believed that the use of force is justifiable. That seems to be the test. Can you all speak to that?
And I'm not familiar with that case. Attorney Jefferson may be. But, you know, we have, based on Tennessee v. Garner and Graham v. Garner, the United States Supreme Court rulings that proscribe for the courts to look from the vantage point of law enforcement if they did feel in fear of their life or they did feel threatened. However, there is an objective, reasonable standard that has to be applied as well. And the question that jumps out at us initially is whether or not it is reasonable for a police officer to come from a side of the vehicle and go into the front of the vehicle to then say, I had to fire because I felt threatened. Well, didn't you put yourself in harm's way? And where's that taught in the training? And it's going to go back, I believe, a lot to his previous employment at the Mansfield Police Department. We invite you all, as one of your colleagues has done, to really vet those records, as well as to ask the questions of the Weathersfield Police Department. Did you review these records when you hired him? So then what went into your decision making to hire this officer who a previous police department said could not be trained?
Yes.
Said that he was for all intents and purposes, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And unfortunately,
3 years
that
later.
explosion resulted in Cholo Vega losing his life. Cholo Vega losing his life. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Shantae Passmore at Channel 3. We did a story a long time ago when I was in LA called Mother Standing in the Gap Forum.
Yes, ma'am. Maxine Waters.
That's right. Good to see you,
see
but not
you.
under these conditions, not under these circumstances. I want to know, how much longer are you going to be in town today?
Just today.
Oh, are you flying out?
Well, I'm flying out tomorrow.
Okay, but what's the likelihood that we can do a one-on-one?
850, I'm going to give you my cell number and you text me because I don't answer unknown calls. 850